In the high Atlas Mountains of North Africa, a mother bear lived alone with her young cub. She had left her group because a large male bear nearby had become aggressive. Since her baby had just been born, the mother bear wanted to keep him safe and raise him far from danger. The day they left, the mountains were covered in soft morning mist. The sun shined gently over the pine trees and rocky cliffs. The mother bear found a quiet spot under some rocks and trees where she could take care of her cub. But life in the mountains is not easy. Leopards, sudden storms, and landslides can all be dangerous, especially for a little bear. The mother bear stayed alert all the time. While her cub played with pine cones or rolled in soft moss, she watched the area carefully. Every few days, she moved to a new place to avoid threats and find food. As summer came, the weather got worse. In August 2022, heavy rain fell for 5 days without stopping. Small streams became wild rivers, mudslides began, and the mountain trails became slippery and dangerous. One afternoon, the mother and cub returned to a place where they had once played by a quiet stream. But now, the stream had turned into fast, rushing water. The cub, curious and not aware of danger, went too close to the edge. While the mother looked around for shelter, the cub slipped on a wet rock and fell into the river. The water pulled him quickly away. The mother turned and saw her cub being carried off. She ran along the river roaring in panic, but the current was too strong. She couldn't jump in. Her cries echoed through the valley. At that same moment, 2 park rangers, Youssef and Amina, were driving nearby. They had been sent to check for dangers during the storms. When they heard the bear's cries, they stopped their truck and ran toward the sound. They saw the mother bear pacing and roaring on the riverbank. Then they spotted the cub struggling in the water. Without wasting time, they got their rescue kit. Amina tied a long rope around her waist and gave the other end to Youssef. She jumped into the freezing river. The current was strong and almost pulled her away, but she kept going. Slowly, she swam toward the cub, ignoring the cold and fear. The mother bear stood nearby, watching every move. When Amina finally reached the cub, he was weak and barely moving. She grabbed him and shouted for Youssef to pull the rope. Inch by inch, Youssef pulled them both toward the shore. Amina held the cub tightly, even though her arms were shaking from the cold. At last, they reached the riverbank. Amina collapsed on the muddy ground, still holding the cub, who was wet and shaking. The mother bear walked slowly toward them. Youssef and Amina stayed still, nervous she might attack. But the bear didn't roar. Instead, she sniffed her cub and gently licked his wet fur. Amina let go of the cub and stepped back. The mother checked her baby for wounds and made soft grunting sounds. She looked at the rangers, not with anger, but with something that felt like thanks. Youssef placed some leftover meat nearby. The mother bear sniffed it, took a bite, and let her cub eat too. After eating, she looked at the humans again and gave a soft growl, not scary, but calm. Amina reached out slowly, and the bear moved her head just enough for Amina's hand to touch her wet fur. In that moment, it felt like the wall between humans and wild animals disappeared. The rain stopped. A rainbow appeared over the valley. The mother bear made a soft noise and gave her cub a signal. It was time to leave. The baby bear looked back at the 2 rangers, his big eyes blinking slowly. Then, together, mother and cub walked off into the misty forest. Youssef and Amina stood quietly, happy and amazed. They had just saved a life. Youssef called on the radio and reported the flood and the rescue. Amina smiled, looking at the muddy trail where the bears had walked. They knew their work wasn't done. The mountains held many dangers, but that one act of kindness would always stay in their hearts. On the wet ground, the last paw prints faded away, leaving behind a story of courage, hope, and unexpected friendship